My best friend has a bizarre, toxic hobby. Every time I get a new girlfriend, he insists on running a test, his words, not mine, and secretly adds them on social media. The result? I get girlfriend, he tests her, she's gone. Eventually, I got sick of it. I started dating an Ice Queen CEO, secretly, telling no one. And what do you think happened? He somehow sniffed out a clue and, sure enough, got his brilliant idea again. I lit a cigarette, deciding that this time, I'd just sit back and watch the clown perform. Mr. Cole, the acquisition is complete. We've secured all 3 of their core patents, and the premium was kept under 3%. Also, you have lead investor status on those renewable energy startups you wanted me to track. Listening to the crisp report from my right-hand man, Quinn, I rolled over lazily on the couch and popped a grape in my mouth. Got it. Don't bother me unless it's an emergency. I'm lying down. Of course, Mr. Cole. You continue lying down. I'll handle anything that comes up. The call ended. I let out a sigh of pure contentment. Being reborn into this world as the sole heir to a top-tier fortune, I was long past the burnout of my previous life's 9 to 9 hustle culture. This time around, I had only one goal, to check out. Let the professionals handle the professional stuff. I just point the ship in the right direction, then kick back and enjoy the ride. What's wrong with that? Working out, fine dining, brewing the occasional small batch liqueur. Life was good. My only headache came from my so-called best friend, Leo Vance. My phone screen lit up. A message from Leo. Aiden, you guys broke up again? I told you she was a gold digger. One little test, and she showed her true colors. Don't be sad, man. I'll take you out tonight. We'll have a blast. I pinched the bridge of my nose and tossed the phone aside. My last girlfriend, a sweet, genuinely nice girl, was torpedoed by one of Leo's tests. He's convinced I'm a useless trust fund kid with nothing to offer but money. So every woman who gets near me must be after my wallet. He appoints himself my guardian, using a burner account to pose as a different rich guy, sliding into my girlfriend's DMs. The first few times, the girl holds strong. But Leo is shockingly persistent. A relentless flood of compliments, sweet nothings, and offers of designer bags. My last girlfriend finally caved and accepted a purse. Next thing I knew, Leo was shoving the screenshots in my face. See, Aiden? I told you. A woman like that isn't worth your time. Looking at his smug, I take a bullet for you expression, I just felt sick. I was tired. Genuinely tired. Which is why my current girlfriend is a state secret. Her name is Serafina. She's a little cold. We met in a strange way at a private art gallery. We were both drawn to the same painting. I just thought it would look cool hanging in my wine cellar. But she seemed to see the loneliness behind the brushstrokes. We started talking, and I realized that while she didn't say much, every word she spoke was precise and insightful. Not like Leo and his crew, whose bar talk consisted of empty bragging and ranking women. Being with Serafina was quiet, comfortable. Just as I was thinking of her, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Serafina. Free tonight. Concise, just like her. I smiled and typed back. For you? Always. Want to try my new batch of peach-infused gin. A full 5 minutes passed before a single letter appeared in response. K. I could picture her face as she typed it. That cool, stunningly beautiful expression, completely unflappable. But for some reason, that one letter was more beautiful to me than a million empty praises from Leo and his cronies. True peace isn't the absence of noise. It's the quiet in your own heart. I drove my most inconspicuous sedan to the underground garage of Serafina's apartment building. She lived in a place with Fort Knox-level security, but for me, it was nothing. I used my facial scan to get straight into the elevator. The moment she opened the door, a cool, clean scent washed over me, just like her. The apartment was a minimalist masterpiece of black, white, and gray. Spotless, but also a little sterile, lacking a sense of being lived in. Serafina was sitting on the floor, surrounded by a sea of documents. She wore a pair of thin, gold-rimmed glasses, her focus absolute. Hearing the door, she looked up. The cool detachment in her eyes seemed to melt just a little when she saw me. You're here. Yep. Brought the gin and some appetizers to go with it. I held up the insulated tote bag. I'd had my private chef make a few of her favorite small plates. She took off her glasses, rubbing the bridge of her nose and revealing a flicker of exhaustion. Let's eat first, I said, walking over and naturally pulling her up from the floor. Her hand was a little cold, so I held a bit tighter. She didn't pull away, but the tips of her ears turned a faint shade of pink. This woman, who was an ice queen to the rest of the world, only ever showed this hint of girlish shyness with me. That's what I loved about her. She wasn't like the other women in my circle, whose eyes practically screamed with ambition and calculation. Serafina's eyes were clear, so clear I could see myself in them. At the table, I poured her a small glass of the peach gin. She took a sip, her brow unfurrowing. "This is good. Glad you like it. I'll make it for you every day from now on," I said with a smile. She glanced at me, silent, but the faint curve of her lips was sweeter than any words. After dinner, she went to take a shower while I cleared the table, a routine we'd fallen into. When I came out of the kitchen, she was in a silk robe, curled up on the sofa with a tablet in her hand, already back to reviewing documents. I walked over and wrapped my arms around her from behind. Her body tensed for a second, then relaxed as she leaned back against my chest. "Don't work too hard," I murmured, my chin resting on the top of her head. I could smell my own shampoo in her hair. She hummed. "A project's at a critical stage. Need my help?" I asked casually. Even though I checked out, the Cole family's resources were more than enough to solve most business problems. She shook her head. "No, I can handle it." That was Serafina, independent, powerful, and never one to lean on others. I loved that strength in her, and I worried about it too. I didn't press. I just held her, quietly watching the boring spreadsheets with her. As the night wore on, she started to get drowsy, her head nodding. I turned off the tablet and scooped her up into my arms. She let out a soft gasp, her arms instinctively wrapping around my neck. Bedtime. I carried her toward the bedroom. In the dim light, her face was as flushed as the gin I'd brewed. I gently laid her on the bed and pulled the covers over her. "Good night." I placed a soft kiss on her forehead. Her eyelashes fluttered. She closed her eyes, and her breathing soon evened out. Watching her sleep so peacefully, my heart felt incredibly soft. This life was perfect, but peace, as always, was fleeting. The next morning, my phone rang. It was Leo, his voice buzzing with barely contained excitement. "Aiden, I think I saw your new girlfriend." Chapter 3, my stomach dropped, but I kept my voice lazy. "What new girlfriend? I'm home all day chilling. No time for dating. Don't play games with me." Leo's voice jumped an octave. "I saw you at the Pinnacle Club last night. You were clever, hid out in a private room, but I saw you leaving with a woman." "The Pinnacle Club?" I frowned, then remembered. I had stopped by the Pinnacle to pick up the takeout for my chef before heading to Serafina's. What a coincidence that Leo was there. "You must have seen wrong," I said, faking a yawn. "That was my mom. Give me a break. I know your mom. She's all class and old money elegance. This woman was completely different. Cool, intense like a total queen. Definitely your new type," he insisted. "He's not wrong about the description," I thought with a smirk. "Whatever, man. Your imagination is running wild. I'm going back to sleep." I hung up before he could say another word. But I knew Leo. This wasn't over. He was like a shark that had scented blood. He wouldn't stop until he took a bite. Sure enough, half an hour later, Quinn called. "Mr. Cole, Leo Vance is using his father's connections to pull the security footage from the Pinnacle Club from last night." "Oh," a playful smile touched my lips. "Let him. And while he's at it, scrub every single frame of Serafina from that footage. Use whatever tech you need. I don't want a single pixel of her left." "Understood," Quinn replied, ever efficient. This was the joy of checking out. All I had to do was give an order, and my people would handle everything flawlessly. "Leo, oh Leo, you think you're playing chess, but you don't even see the real board." That afternoon, I was sweating it out at the gym when Leo called again, his voice thick with frustration. "Damn it, this is so weird. The footage just shows you walking around with a takeout bag. There's no woman anywhere." I grunted, lifting a dumbbell. "Told you, you were seeing things." "Impossible," he shot back, stubborn as ever. "I know what I saw. A woman in a black trench coat, with a killer figure. I didn't get a good look at her face, but that vibe. Wow. Okay, buddy, you have fun with your fantasy." I had no more time to waste on him. I hung up and wiped the sweat from my forehead. That lead was a dead end, but Leo wouldn't give up. He would leverage his entire network, running around like a madman, searching for any trace of the woman in the black trench coat. And me? I would just sit back and watch him scramble, trip, and fall flat on his face. The feeling was so much better than just proving him wrong. It was the godlike perspective of watching a court jester perform, completely unaware that you control the entire stage. That evening, I took Serafina to see a movie. It was a small indie film, and we had the entire theater to ourselves. Halfway through, Serafina leaned in close and whispered, "A stranger tried to add me on WhatsApp today." My heart skipped a beat. "Here we go." "Oh yeah? Who?" "No idea," she said, handing me her phone. "The profile picture is a selfie on a yacht. Looks greasy." I took the phone. There, illuminated by the screen's glow, was Leo's profile picture. His face, which he clearly thought was God's gift to women, looked utterly ridiculous. The connection request read, "Hey there, a friend showed me your picture, and I thought you had an amazing vibe. Mind if we get to know each other?" The classic opening. I nearly snorted with laughter. Serafina watched me, a question in her cool eyes. "Just a fly," I said, handing the phone back. Without a second thought, she moved to hit decline. "Wait," I said, placing my hand over hers. She looked at me, puzzled. I leaned in and whispered the whole sordid story of my friendship with Leo. When I finished, Serafina's perpetually stoic face broke into an expression I'd never seen before, a mixture of disbelief and amusement. "So you want to play along?" I gave her a wink. Think of it as watching the circus. Chapter 4. Serafina studied me, and for the first time, a rare, mischievous glint appeared in her calm, clear eyes. She was quiet for a moment. Then, her slender finger tapped the screen. Friend request accepted. We locked eyes, a shared, silent laugh passing between us. This was a new feeling. Before, I was always the sole puppet master, watching Leo's ridiculous show from behind the curtain. Now, I had a partner in crime. And my partner was a brilliant, top-tier player who could run circles around Leo without breaking a sweat. Leo's message was instantaneous. "Hey, glad you accepted. My name's Leo. It's great to meet you." It was followed by an emoji of a winking smiley face that he probably thought was suave. Serafina glanced at it and handed the phone to me. "You do it. As you wish, my queen," I said with a grin, taking the phone. I channeled my best Serafina impression and typed back 2 cold, hard words. "You need something?" The other end went silent for a full minute. He was probably reeling. In all his time hitting on women, Leo had likely never encountered an opening like that. A minute later, his reply came through, "Haha, not really. Just want to make a new friend. You have such a classy vibe. You must be someone special." And so it begins. The reconnaissance mission. I replied, "I work an office job." Leo, "Oh yeah? Where at?" Maybe we're in the same field. Me, a small company. Nothing special. As I typed, I could feel Serafina shifting beside me. She seemed to be enjoying this, leaning closer. I could feel her warm breath on my neck, sending a tickle down my spine. On the other end, Leo's patience was clearly wearing thin. He probably thought this woman was playing hard to get. So he switched tactics, shifting to his favorite pastime, subtly trashing me. "Leo, I have this friend, Aiden Cole. You know him? Total do-nothing trust fund kid. Heard he has a new girlfriend he's hiding. I just hate to see another good woman get fooled by him." Reading that, I felt Serafina's shoulders shake beside me as she stifled a laugh. I held back my own and kept typing. "Don't know him. Leo, makes sense. A classy, independent woman, like you wouldn't fall for a guy like that who just knows how to waste money. Take away his family's cash, and he's got nothing." I held the phone up for Serafina to see. The elegant curve of her lips finally broke into a full smile. She reached out and typed a few words herself. "Oh, is that so?" 3 words and a period, dripping with absolute indifference and dismissal. Low damage, but maximum insult. I would bet my entire fortune that on the other side of that screen, Leo's face was turning purple. Sure enough, he didn't reply for a long time. The movie ended, and I walked hand in hand with Serafina down the empty street. The night wind caught her hair, and the streetlights stretched our shadows long behind us. "Your friend," Serafina said suddenly, "he really doesn't think much of you. He doesn't look down on me. He's jealous of me," I said simply. Everything he's desperately trying to achieve, I was born with. So he needs to put me down to feel even a tiny shred of superiority. Serafina stopped and turned to face me. Under the lamplight, her eyes were shining. "But you're not what he says you are," she said, her voice serious and clear. In that moment, it felt like something had gently bumped against my heart. The world saw me as a lost cause, a screw-up who couldn't be bothered. Only she could see past the checked-out exterior to the person underneath. To have one person who truly gets you is enough for a lifetime. "It doesn't matter what they think," I said, squeezing her hand. "As long as you believe me." "I believe you," she said without hesitation. Those 3 words meant more to me than any grandiose promise ever could. Just then, Leo's message finally came through, laced with a desperate, last-ditch effort. "Look, don't be fooled by appearances. There's a huge black tie gala tomorrow. Let me take you. I'll introduce you to what the real upper crust looks like. You can see what a real man of ambition is all about." He attached a photo of a gold-embossed invitation. It was for the annual Sterling Industries Business Summit. I stared at the invitation, then looked at the woman standing beside me. She saw it too. A strange, complex emotion flickered across her cool features. Because Sterling Industries was her company, and she was its CEO, he wants to take you to your own party. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I burst out laughing. It was just too perfect. The sound of my laughter made Serafina smile, a rare and beautiful sight. When she smiled, it was like watching an iceberg melt in the spring sun, radiant enough to outshine everything around it. "What should I say back?" she asked, a playful glint in her eyes. "Ask him if the invitation is real," I suggested. She did as I said, typing out the question. Leo immediately sent back a selfie of him holding the invitation, his flashy Ferrari in the background. 100% authentic. This is the Sterling Industries Summit. A single ticket goes for 6 figures on the resale market. Most people can only dream of getting in. Every word oozed with smug pride. He thought he dropped an irresistible piece of bait, a bombshell that would make any gold digger reveal her true intentions. I looked at Serafina. She looked back at me. "Accept," I said. "Okay," she replied with a single word. "Okay." Leo practically exploded on the other end. "Awesome. I'll pick you up from your work tomorrow at 6. Send me the address." A small company, nothing special. I reminded her of our cover story. Serafina's company was headquartered at the top of the Sterling Tower, the most iconic skyscraper in the city's financial district. If she sent him that address, Leo would probably have a heart attack on the spot. "Tell him you're barista at the coffee shop across the street from the Sterling Tower," I said with a grin. She nodded and sent the address. Leo was clearly thrilled with this outcome. A beautiful girl working a humble job in the shadow of a corporate giant. The narrative perfectly fit his Cinderella fantasy, casting him as the handsome prince coming to the rescue. "Okay, beautiful. See you tomorrow." He sent a kissy face emoji. Serafina wrinkled her nose in disgust and immediately locked her phone. "Greasy" was her one-word review. "Tomorrow's going to be fun," I said, wrapping an arm around her shoulder, my mood soaring. I could already picture it. Leo would show up in his most expensive car, wearing his most tailored suit, ready to play Prince Charming and sweep the poor barista off her feet. Then, he would grandly escort her across the street into the Sterling Tower for the most exclusive event of the year, an event hosted by the very corporation that bore her name. He would act as her guide, pointing out the titans of industry and the power brokers in attendance. And then, what happened then? I didn't know for sure, but I couldn't wait to find out. I couldn't wait to see the look on Leo's face when he discovered that the Cinderella he was trying so hard to save was, in fact, the queen of the entire castle. The most dangerous predators, after all, often disguise themselves as prey. Chapter 6 the next day, at 5:50 p.m. A fire engine red Ferrari screeched to a halt in front of the coffee shop across from the Sterling Tower, parking with an arrogance that demanded attention. The door swung open, and out stepped Leo, dressed in a blindingly white suit, his hair slicked back with a concerning amount of gel. He was holding a massive bouquet of unnaturally blue roses, looking for all the world like a peacock in full display. His arrival immediately became a spectacle, drawing stares from everyone on the street. Meanwhile, I was sitting in a quiet corner on the coffee shop's second floor, a baseball cap pulled low, sipping a latte and enjoying the show below. Serafina had deliberately dressed down today in a simple sundress, wearing no makeup, but even that couldn't hide the effortless elegance of her features. She sat across from me, calmly reading a copy of The Economist, as if the buffoon making a scene for her downstairs was nothing more than a passing street performer. "He's here," I said. She replied, not looking up. After striking a few poses he clearly thought were captivating, Leo finally pushed open the door to the coffee shop. His eyes scanned the room and landed on Serafina immediately. It was impossible to miss her. Even dressed so simply, her face and posture made her stand out like a diamond in a coal bin. Leo's eyes lit up, brighter than his Ferrari's headlights. He strode over, a practiced, charming smile plastered on his face. "Serafina? Hi, I'm Leo." Serafina slowly raised her head, her cool gaze landing on him without a flicker of emotion. "Hello." Leo's smile faltered. He probably hadn't expected the real-life version to be even colder than her texts. But he recovered quickly, holding out the flowers. "These are for you. You're more beautiful than any flower." The pickup line was so cheesy, I almost choked on my latte. Serafina didn't even glance at the bouquet. "I'm allergic to pollen," she said flatly. Leo's smile froze solid. He stood there, holding the obscenely expensive blue roses, looking like a man who'd just been rejected at the altar. A few nearby tables had turned to watch, their occupants barely hiding their smirks. I watched Leo's face turn a deep shade of crimson. "Ah," he coughed, awkwardly placing the flowers on an empty chair. "Right? Well, it's getting late. We should head out. The gala's about to start." Serafina closed her magazine and stood. "Let's go." She never once looked in my direction, acting as if we were complete strangers who happened to share a table. But just as she turned to leave, I saw her give me a quick, playful wink. I just smiled and shook my head, then pulled out my phone and sent a text to Quinn. "Get ready. The show is about to begin." Leo led Serafina out of the coffee shop, tripping over himself to open the car door for her. The Ferrari's engine roared to life, and they sped off. I slowly finished the last of my latte, then stood and made my way downstairs. "Sterling Tower, here I come." Leo Vance, your nightmare is about to begin. Chapter 7, The Sterling Tower, was on high alert tonight. A long red carpet stretched from the curb, flanked on both sides by a mob of reporters and photographers. Every guest who entered was a titan of industry or a political heavyweight. Leo's Ferrari pulled up to the entrance, and a valet immediately rushed to open the door. He led Serafina onto the red carpet, his face glowing with a smug, vicarious pride. He basked in the flash of the cameras, soaking in what he assumed were the envious stares of onlookers. He believed this was all because of him. He leaned in and whispered to Serafina, "See this? This is the big league. Stick with me, and you could be living in this spotlight every single day." Serafina remained silent, her expression unreadable. To her, Leo must have looked like a complete fool. They reached the security checkpoint, where Leo proudly presented his gold-embossed invitation. The head of security took the card, glanced at it, then looked at Leo with a slight frown. "Mr. Vance, this is a guest pass. It only admits one person." Leo's face fell. "What do you mean? I can't bring a date." "My apologies, sir," the guard explained, his tone polite but firm. "This is a highly exclusive summit. All attendees have been pre-screened. Only primary invitation holders may bring a guest." Leo's composure crumbled. He had gotten this invitation through his father, who had begged a business partner for it. A guest pass was the best they could do. He had assumed he could just waltz in with Serafina and put on a show for her, but he was getting shut down at the very first step. Serafina stood behind him, silent, just watching. The crowd behind them was starting to murmur, their curious glances turning into knowing smirks. A bead of sweat trickled down Leo's forehead. "Can't you just bend the rules a little?" he hissed, reaching for his wallet. "I'm sorry, sir. The rules are the rules," the guard said, unmoved. Just as Leo was trapped in a vortex of public humiliation, wishing the ground would swallow him whole, a calm, authoritative voice came from behind him. "Is there a problem here?" Leo turned to see a distinguished-looking middle-aged man in a perfectly tailored black suit approaching them. It was my man, Quinn. Quinn was no longer just my assistant. He was now one of the public faces of the Coal Corporation's management, a respected and powerful figure in his own right. "Mr. Quinn," the head of security said, immediately straightening up. Leo recognized him, too. His father's company had dealings with the Coal Corp, and he'd met Quinn a few times. "Mr. Quinn, good to see you," Leo stammered, forcing a smile. Quinn gave a curt nod, his eyes sweeping past Leo to land on Serafina. Then, under Leo's stunned gaze, Quinn addressed Serafina directly, bowing his head in a gesture of profound respect. "Ms. Sterling, I apologize for the delay. Mr. Cole is already inside waiting for you." "Ms. Sterling." Leo's eyes looked like they were about to pop out of their sockets. He stared in disbelief, first at Quinn, then at the stone-faced woman beside him, his mind completely short-circuiting. The barista from the coffee shop was being called Ms. Sterling by Quinn, and according to Quinn, she seemed to know Aiden. No, it was more than that. "Mr. Cole is already inside waiting for you." The implications of that sentence were staggering. The head of security was equally stunned. He looked from Quinn to Serafina, and a cold sweat broke out on his brow. Had he really just blocked the CEO of Sterling Industries from entering her own building? "Mr. Quinn, this is—" the guard asked, his voice trembling. Quinn's expression hardened, his tone becoming sharp and severe. "This is Serafina Sterling, the chairman and CEO of Sterling Industries. Now, who do you think she is?" Boom. It was as if a lightning bolt had struck Leo's brain. The chairman of Sterling Industries? He felt his legs start to give way, a chilling dread creeping up his spine. What had he done? He had treated the queen of Sterling Industries like some wannabe gold digger. He had tried to impress her by bringing her to her own gala, to show her what the big league looked like. He had shamelessly bad-mouthed Aiden Cole to her, bragging about his own pathetic status. In an instant, all his self-satisfaction and feelings of superiority curdled into a series of echoing slaps across his own face. He finally understood. He understood why she had been so detached, why she had looked at him like he was an idiot. Because while he was putting on his pathetic little performance, in her eyes, that's exactly what he was, a complete and utter clown. Ms. Sterling, I had no idea it was you." Leo's voice was shaking so badly he could barely form the words, his face a ghostly white. He wanted to apologize, but his tongue felt thick and useless. Serafina finally reacted. She didn't even spare him a glance. Her words were directed at Quinn, cool and precise. "Have him removed. I don't want to see him at my event." With that, she swept past them and entered the ballroom. From beginning to end, she never looked at him once. It was the ultimate dismissal, the kind only someone at the very top of the food chain could deliver. "Yes, Miss Sterling," Quinn said respectfully to her retreating back. He then turned to Leo, his eyes now like chips of ice. "Mr. Vance, if you please come with us." Two large security guards immediately moved in, grabbing Leo, who was practically catatonic, by the arms. "No, Mr. Quinn, Miss Sterling, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know." Leo finally snapped, his voice cracking as he started to beg. Aiden Cole, tell him to come out here. I'm your best friend." He remembered Aiden, the useless trust fund kid he'd always looked down on. He finally understood that Aiden wasn't useless at all. Anyone who could capture the heart of the queen of Sterling Industries, anyone who had a man like Quinn waiting for them, was operating on a level Leo couldn't even comprehend. He had always thought he was on the top floor, looking down at Aiden on the ground floor. He realized now that Aiden wasn't even in the same building. Aiden owned the whole damn city block, but his desperate cries earned him no sympathy. Amid the contemptuous and mocking stares of the crowd, he was dragged away like a stray dog, unceremoniously dumped on the curb at the end of the red carpet. His flashy Ferrari now looked like nothing more than a monument to his own foolishness. Inside the grand ballroom, chandeliers glittered over a sea of tuxedos and evening gowns. I stood on a second-floor balcony, a glass of champagne in hand, having watched the entire scene unfold. Serafina appeared at my side, the usual cool aura around her now warmed by a hint of something new. "Feel better?" she asked. I smiled and shook my head. "No, that was just the appetizer. Like I said, the show was just getting started." The news of Leo Vance being thrown out of the Sterling Summit spread through the ballroom like wildfire. The so-called friends who had been fawning over him just hours ago now avoided him like the plague. The corporate world is nothing if not pragmatic. When you have value, you're everyone's best friend. When you offend the wrong person, you're a contagion. I spotted Leo's father, the chairman of Vance Holdings, scurrying through the crowd with a drink in his hand, sweating profusely, trying to explain himself to anyone who would listen. No one would. They dodged him as if he were radioactive. That was the power of a single sentence from Serafina. She didn't need to make a single business move. A simple expression of her displeasure was enough to bring the Vance family to the brink of ruin. "You don't seem to feel sorry for him at all," Serafina commented, following my gaze. "Why should I?" I took a sip of champagne. He made his own choices. He can live with the consequences. Using "I'm doing this for your own good" as an excuse to satisfy his own twisted ego and need for control. I don't need a friend like that. Serafina looked at me, then quietly took a small slice of cake from a passing waiter's tray and handed it to me. It was Black Forest, my favorite. I smiled and took a bite. Sweet, but not too rich. Just like our relationship. "Ms. Sterling, it's an honor." A balding man with a sycophantic grin approached us. "I'm Mr. Lee of Macro Ventures. We submitted a proposal to your firm a few weeks ago." Serafina's expression instantly reverted to its icy default. She cut him off coolly. "Business matters should be scheduled through my assistant." "Ah, yes, of course," Mr. Lee said, retreating with his tail between his legs. Serafina turned back to me, her features softening again. "Let's get out of here. This is boring." "Deal." I set down my glass and casually took her hand. We walked out of the ballroom together, leaving a wake of stunned, envious, and gossiping guests. Tonight, all the rumors about that useless coal heir who lucked into landing the Sterling Queen would transform into the stuff of legend. They would try to dig into my past to figure out who I really was. But they would find nothing. Quinn had made sure my public profile was pristine and boring. To the outside world, I was just a lucky trust fund kid who had decided to check out of the rat race. And that was exactly how I liked it. I just wanted to live a quiet life with the person I loved. Anyone else could have the fame and the fortune. We didn't go home. Serafina had the driver take us to a scenic overlook on the edge of the city. The night air was cool, and below us, the city lights glittered like a river of stars. "Thank you," Serafina said suddenly. "For what?" "For being willing to play such a ridiculous game with me," she said softly, leaning her head on my shoulder. I wrapped my arm around her. "Anything with you is interesting, no matter how ridiculous." She didn't say anything, just snuggled closer. I could feel the thick walls of ice this queen had built around herself slowly, finally melting. And I was the only one who could bring the sun. My phone vibrated. A text from Quinn. "Mr. Cole, Vance Holdings is filed for bankruptcy." Chapter 10. The message was short, the outcome devastating. I showed the text to Serafina. She glanced at it once before looking away, utterly uninterested, as if she'd just read a mundane weather report. "The legal department at Sterling is known for its efficiency," she said simply. I knew what that meant. The moment Leo offended her, Sterling's legal and investment teams would have launched a risk assessment. They would have uncovered every vulnerability and shady dealing within Vance Holdings. Then, the banks, suppliers, and partners connected to the Vance family would have swarmed like sharks smelling blood in the water. Serafina never had to give a direct order. The precision-engineered machine of her business empire would automatically eliminate any pest that dared to disrespect its queen. That was the power of capital, ruthless and efficient. Leo's dad has called me over 30 times in the last hour. I didn't pick up. I added, "He wants you to intervene, probably wants me to plead his case to you. Would you?" she asked, tilting her head up to meet my gaze. I smiled and gently tapped her nose. "What do you think?" She smiled back, a breathtaking sight under the starlight. "Let's go home," she said, taking my hand. "I'm in the mood for that peach gin you make." "You got it." Back at Serafina's apartment, everything felt normal. I cooked dinner while she finished up some work. It was as if the gala that had rocked the city's business community was just a minor footnote in our evening. But some things had fundamentally changed. For instance, Serafina's cat, a haughty ragdoll that usually treated me like I was invisible, actually rubbed against my leg. It then hopped onto the sofa and curled up beside me to sleep. And after she finished her work, instead of turning on the financial news, Serafina picked up the video game controller I'd left on the coffee table. How? How does this work? She asked a little awkwardly. I taught her how to play a simple two-player co-op game. She was terrible at it, constantly falling into pits or getting defeated by the weakest enemies. But she was having the time of her life, her laughter echoing through the apartment like silver bells. Watching her, I suddenly felt like I was seeing the real her. Without the armor and the icy facade, she was just a normal girl who knew how to laugh and have fun. Later that night, we were lying in bed side by side. She suddenly rolled over and wrapped her arms around me. Aiden, from now on, don't hide me anymore, okay? Her voice was muffled against my chest, laced with a hint of vulnerability I'd never heard before. My heart clenched, and I pulled her tighter. Okay, from now on, I want the entire world to know that you, Serafina Sterling, are my girl. I couldn't see her face in the dark, but I felt her nod firmly against me. We talked for a long time that night, about her childhood, about how she built a small company into the empire it was today. We even talked about my philosophy of checking out. I told her it wasn't that I lacked ambition. I just refused to live a life of constant exhaustion. I wanted to spend my time experiencing the beauty of life, like every single minute and every single second I spent with her. True strength isn't about controlling the world, I said finally. It's about controlling your own life. She was quiet for a long time after I said that. Then, she leaned in and gave me a soft, tender kiss. I think I'm starting to understand you. Chapter 11. The next day, the city's financial news exploded. Hashtag Sterling Industries mystery man revealed. Heir to Coal Corp fortune. Hashtag Vance Holdings collapses overnight. After son offends Serafina Sterling. Hashtag power merger or true love. The future of the Cole Sterling dynasty. The sensational headlines were everywhere, accompanied by crystal-clear photos of Serafina and me holding hands as we left the gala. My phone was ringing off the hook. My parents, my distant relatives, and a legion of friends I hadn't heard from in years. I got tired of it and just switched my phone to airplane mode. Serafina was dealing with the same thing, but she was, as always, much calmer. She had her assistant release a brief, powerful statement. My personal life is not a matter for public speculation. Furthermore, all business decisions made by Sterling Industries are based on market principles and risk assessment and do not involve personal sentiment. Translation: my love life is none of your business. And Vance Holdings went under because they were a bad investment, not because I was mad, which I was. It was classic Serafina. We spent the day like nothing had happened, curled up on her sofa, eating snacks, and scrolling through the gossip online. Look at this one, I said, pointing out a comment. This guy has to be a gold digger, living off her money. Huh. Serafina rolled her eyes, took my phone, and typed a quick reply with her elegant fingers. She handed it back. I looked at the screen. Using my account, she had replied to the comment with 3 simple words. And it's delicious. I stared at it for a second, then burst out laughing. My Ice Queen had a hidden, playful side. That afternoon, Quinn stopped by. He brought a file detailing the final resolution for the Vance family. Leo's father was under investigation for multiple counts of financial fraud. Leo himself was a social pariah, drowning in debt and abandoned by everyone he knew. Someone had reportedly seen him drunk at a bar, crying and mumbling my name, saying how sorry he was. Mr. Cole, should we do anything about Leo Vance? Quinn asked. I shook my head. No, he's gotten his punishment. Let him be. You reap what you sow. I'm no saint, but I wasn't going to waste another ounce of energy on him. For me, he was already in the past. Oh, one more thing, I said, remembering something. I need you to register a new company for me. Both Quinn and Serafina looked at me, surprised. You've had a change of heart, ready to get back in the game? Serafina asked. I grinned and shook my head. No, the company name will be the Serafina Project, and its primary business objective will be to operate a private, appointment-only restaurant, so I can cook for you whenever you want. Quinn's lips twitched, fighting a smile. Serafina just stared, completely stunned. A shimmering mist instantly formed in her cool, clear eyes. She didn't say a word. She just stood up and walked quickly into the bedroom. I followed her in and saw her standing with her back to me, her shoulders trembling slightly. I wrapped my arms around her from behind. What's wrong? Don't like the name? We can call it the Aiden Project if you prefer. She turned around, tears streaming down her face, but she was smiling like a child. She threw her arms around my neck and hugged me tight. Aiden Cole, you are such an idiot. Yeah, I whispered back, but only for you. Outside, the sun was shining. The world felt calm and right. This, perhaps, was the entire reason for my second chance at life. To find the one person who could make me want to be an idiot and then spend the rest of my days with her, simply enjoying the view.